Here we are, guys, already in the last exploration of Lesson 2. This exploration is titled Passing the Test. So here we go. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Engineers design many things that people depend on. It's not enough for an engineer to say that a design works. It needs to be tested to ensure it solves the problem. Each design starts out as a prototype, an early version for testing. Prototypes must be thoroughly tested to be sure they're safe and work correctly. Often, it takes many prototypes to get one that is ideal. Most types of engineering solutions are like this. They need to be tested and improved many times before they meet criteria and satisfy constraints of safety, time, money, or materials. So, just doing the design one time and testing it may not work. You've got to test it over and over. And after you've tested it several times, you may go back to the drawing board and you might even go back to researching. You may sit down and sketch out a new design so that you make another prototype and then you test it again. All right, here's a picture. Anechoic means no echoes. An anechoic chamber is used to test speakers, headphones, and microphones. The walls in the chamber are designed to absorb the sound waves. So look at these little cone-like structures. They absorb the sound. They do not allow it to bounce back. So that's where they would test speakers, headphones, and microphones. Some more testing. Study the images to discover more about some other engineering designs and how they are tested. An aquadynamic. Aqua means water. An aquadynamic testing facility is similar to a wind tunnel. It is used to test vehicles and objects that move through water to make sure they are safe and do not leak. It is also used to model movement through air. So, if you'd look at this, it makes me think of I need to go play some badminton. I haven't played in years. And you're going to see how it moves through the water. The next picture. This is an eye tracking rig. It keeps a record of eye movements while a person uses software or a web page. Portable wearable devices are used in sports to see if players are really keeping their eyes on the ball. I don't know if some of you all that play sports, I'm going to say this would be something you would use a lot in baseball. Have ever seen anybody do that? I bet the big professionals do that. Okay, so it says select the word or words that correctly complete each sentence. So we have a drop down with choices. A blank is an early version of a design solution. We have prototype, final design, or criterion. Well, I know a criterion is limitations. The final design wouldn't be early version. So the early version is a prototype. These versions are tested to help blank a design solution. So they are tested to help measure, improve, or constrain. Well, we test it so that we can improve it. And blank might be used to test a speaker design. So if we're talking about sound and we're testing speakers, we want something that is an eye tracking rig is not going to have anything to do with speakers. So an anechoic chamber is where you're going to test a speaker. Software designers must use an blank to test and improve how people use their software. So if we're talking about the software, anechoic you're not going to put that in water, hopefully, or you're not listening for the sounds. You're looking to see how people use it with their eyes, your eye tracking. All right, fair test. Testing and retesting solutions is important. A fair test, and if you click right here, it's going to pop up and tell you what that means. Back at the beginning of this unit, we looked this up. A test that doesn't give any advantage to the conditions or subjects being tested. So it's fair. I know you've probably said, well, that's not fair. Okay, that's what it's saying. Not everybody got the same thing. Not every test had the same conditions. A fair test is one that doesn't give any advantage to the conditions or objects being tested. For a fair test, engineers observe and measure the effects of changing only one thing or variable at a time. Changing many variables at once seems faster. However, there is no way to know what causes the results. If you change multiple things at one time, you're not going to know which thing made it better or made it worse. So you've got to do one thing at a time. Change one thing at a time. So here's an example of a fair test. Suppose you want to find the fastest way to walk home. You need to time each route, walking at roughly the same speed on the similar type of condition days. You would not compare walking the first route, walking the second, and carrying a heavy backpack on the third. So walking the first one, running the second, and carrying a backpack on the third. The same is true for the results on a slippery, icy day and on a warm, dry day. So you're trying to test the routes, which one's faster. So that's what you're changing up. You're going to walk each route without a backpack. You're just going to walk it. So you've got to decide and make sure you stick to that. And then you time it. That would make it fair. So here's an audio testing system in this room. Select each spot to discover more about the parts of the scene. Keep in mind that if you were testing sound systems and speakers, you would want to change only one thing at a time. So I'm going to start here. The wall lining. When sound moves throughout a room, they bounce off of different objects. The wall lining plays an important part in this. It also keeps outside sounds from interfering. So that's what this is. All right, I'm going to click right here underneath that screen. That's the control panel. It's used to adjust the loudness and change which speakers and sound system are being tested. If you've ever been inside of a place that sells different types of sound systems, they usually have a control panel and they have buttons, and you would click on different buttons to test the different ones to see which one works the best for you. Now we have a sound source. This CD is one source of music for testing the sound systems. A smartphone, the TV, or the radio are also possible sources. Some of you may have never even seen a CD, a compact disc. You would buy that, and that's where your music was. We didn't have smartphones where we could just pull it up. We had TVs, but you may not have been able to find. But that's another sound source. Now, we did have the old radio, and we like to record songs off of the radio with our cassettes. So you have to have a sound source. So we have the source, we have a control panel to change, and every test has the same wall lining. Your fair test. Which steps would you take to make a fair test of the speakers shown in the sound system test room? Choose all the correct answers. So we're wanting to make a fair test, testing only one speaker system at a time. That would make it fair because we're not having multiple systems going at once, so we can clearly identify which speaker system it is. Using the same sound source, a CD, a smartphone each time. Yes, that's going to make a difference. CDs have different sound qualities than smartphones do. Sitting or standing in the same place each time. I think that would be important. Because the way that sound gets to you would change if you were sitting or standing. Listening at the same loudness each time. I think that's something else you would have to do. You don't want it to be one to be louder and one to be softer, because then you would think that sound system that's louder is better. Having a different person listen each time. I don't think that would make it fair, because if I were listening to it and then I had my mom come and listen to it, my mom is almost deaf in one ear, so our hearing is not the same. So if she listens to one and then I go and listen to a different one, we're not going to be able to compare that. So having a different person listen each time is not fair. Keeping objects in the same places in the room each time. Absolutely. If you start moving stuff, that's going to affect how the sound bounces. and it's going to change how you hear it. Well done. All right. Putting this together, we have some typing we're going to have to do. What factors will your team need to think about and address in order to make a fair test of your hearing enhancing device? So, you probably wouldn't want very much background noise. So, keep in the background noise. Can't type. Low. Using the same source of nature sounds. You want to use the same exact kind of animal each time. You want to be at the same distance and in the same position. These are just a couple. If you have any other ones, you can add them on there, and I'll go through and read them. That is all that we have to do. We're not going to be doing the design it. However, tomorrow you will do take it further, and you're going to get to pick one of these paths. So it says choose one of the paths below to continue your exploration. So you could do careers in science and engineering, hearing aid history, and don't make a move. Whichever one you choose, there's some kind of something you need to write or answer. Okay, so this one, here's what you would have to do. The next choice is hearing aid history. So when you click on it, you read through here, look at these examples, answer this question. And the last one is don't make a move. And he looks kind of sassy, like, I told you not to be moving. So you're going to read. You're going to click on the images to discover more. And then it says to do research. If you choose to do this one, I would like you to do a little bit of researching. You don't have to make a presentation. I'd like for you to type up in over here in the notes, if it will let you type. I got all kinds of stuff over here. So you would highlight this, add a note, and then you would type in your answer right there, and I'll be able to see it, okay? So again, let me show you. Delete that. All right. So I'm going to click here. It's going to pop up, add note, and you can type right there. Or you can click notes, and there it is. And then you can add note and type it there. So there's two different places. If you choose to do the one with the owl. Okay, so this is for tomorrow. Do not do it today. All right. If you have any questions, let me know.